So next topic will be CSS positions. So what is CSS positions? See, as we have discussed, CSS, apart from its regular enhancement of look and feel of web page, it is also used for positioning the various elements according to our need. Right? So we can use different positionings. First, it will be static positioning, so that an element can be statically positioned, but this is a default position. Every element is statically positioned. That means its default position has the value called static. Okay, the property name is called position, but its value will be static. So this need not be explicitly to be mentioned at all. Every element is statically positioned. Okay, but it's a default state. That is why they have kept a state called static. Then we come to relative. When you say relative to its original position, how a particular element is placed. That's called relative positioning. Okay. So we will see with an example. Okay, I think by wording we cannot understand. Then absolute. When you say absolute, how an element is positioned, okay, with respect to its container or parent, you can call. Okay. So the difference between relative and absolute is, see, relative positioning, what happens is it just retains its state actually. Okay, absolute positioning, it just leaves its state and it goes sit somewhere else. Okay, I think with an example I can demonstrate later on. Then we'll be discussing what fixed. Fixed is nothing but you can take an element to any of your web page position, location. I can call it as top, left, bottom, right, everything. Okay, we can keep a button and we can position at the bottom of the web page or at the top of the web page, so it will be fixed to that position. Then sticky is nothing but normally we use with a parameter called top, so that a particular text or button is always sticking to its top. Okay, so all these things we'll be discussing with a live example. Fine. So now I'll just go here, go to my VS Code. It's a clean state. I'll just save it and show the browser. Look at this. Nothing is there. Okay. Now I will take an example, an H3 element. Okay. Heading 3. I'll just save it. So I can heading 3 got displayed, rendered in the web browser. Now what I will do, I'll go to my style. Okay. I'm going to position this H3 according to my need. So I'll just select the H3 element. Selector is H3. Then I will just give a background color. I'll just give a light cyan. See the H3 element. Look at, I think it's not looking great. I'll make it as green. So look at this. Yeah. So it's now this is called static position. Static position. That means what? I can use the attribute or parameter called or a property called position. Property called position, and I can make it a static. Okay, so this property is called position and its value is static. I'll just save it and show the output. There is no change because this is a default position of H3 element. Fine. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll just have one more H4 element. I'll call it as heading 4. Okay, I'll show you that heading 4. Let me set a background color of something else. So I just say H4. Okay, background color. I'll make some other background color. I'll make it as pink. Okay, fine. I'll just save it. Look at this. Now look at this. So H3, H4. Now they are all statically positioned. Now what happens? Next we move on to the relative position. So in our discussion we are discussing about first Shift F5. We'll just say that. Yeah. So it will be relative position. So when I say relative positioning, I will come back here. See, now what I'll do, I'll just make this H3 element as relatively positioned. Okay, now I'll just show you the output. The output, there will be no change at all. We can just see that there is no significant. In fact, there is no zero. There is zero change at all. Zero change. Okay. Now what I'll do, when you use relative positioning, I'll just say top 100 pixel Okay, then left will be 50 pixels. You can see here. Now look at this. This element relatively has moved from its original position. That's what it says. From top 100 pixels, relative to its original position, 100 pixel down. Okay, and then relative to its original position, it has moved from left 50 pixels. 50 pixels. Now, see, even though this element has moved, okay, from its relative position, it has still, okay, see, that element, the position which it previously occupied, okay, was retained. Look at this space, okay, this is where the element was, but it's like, it's a temporary relocation. Okay, what happens, we have relatively placed this H3 element from its original position to some other position. So just see, this place is still vacant. Okay, that means what, it is as if, it's a temporary movement. It's like a temporary movement. Just imagine that. Okay, see, H4 is below that. H3, which was supposed to be here, has temporarily moved to this place. Right? Relative to its original position, okay, it has moved from top 100 pixel and left 50 pixels. This is called relative position. Okay. Now, how do I differ it? I'll make it as absolute positioning. Then you can just see that. I just see, when I say absolute positioning, it has given up its position. Look at this. It has given up. See, when you say absolute positioning, with respect to its container, how it has moved. How it has moved. So, the document is its container. Okay, for all these elements, the document is a container, because H3, H4, everything is within the body. So the document of the HTML document is the container. So with respect to its container, how it has moved. So look at this, H3 has moved. The position is same. See, 100 pixels from top, from left 50 pixels. There is no change. But only thing is, see, it has given up its space. It has given up its space. See, H4 has occupied its space. That's the difference you have to see. Okay, when you say relative, okay, it is as if it is moving relative to its original position, it is moving somewhere else, but still it does not leave its space. Okay, the space which was occupied by this H3 will be vacant, But when you absolutely move that element, it is moving with respect to its container or parent. So it is completely giving up its space, so that H4 occupies its space. That's the difference. Okay, so H4 occupies H3 space. Previously, see, it was supposed to be, according to the design, H3 comes here, then only H4. But you just see, when you absolutely position H3 to somewhere else, H4 appears first, and H3 is positioned to various location, different location. Okay, a different location. So it has moved up to an absolute position with respect to its container. So this is the difference between absolute and relative. Okay, in this sense, actually, of course, there is more difference. We will see later on. Here, with respect to one element, what is the difference between relative positioning and absolute positioning? Relative means, okay, it does not leave its position, but it goes to different location. The location which it occupied, it is left empty. Any element which is below that has to be in the flow. Right? So the position which was occupied by the relatively positioned element will be as it is. But when you say absolute, the element is positioned somewhere else. So the position which was occupied by the moved element will be taken up by some other element. Okay, that is the explanation I can give. Okay, that you can see practically here. Okay, then we'll go to next position called fixer. Okay, I'll just say fixer. Now, when you say fixer, now look at this. That has moved somewhere else. But fixer can be explained with this example. Look at this. I'll just give lorem. Okay, look at this lorem. Now you see, I have a lot of content. See, but still, see, it is fixing to its position. See, only the content is moving. The scrolling effect is there only for the other contents. But this element stays, or it's fixed at its position. Right? So this is called Okay, fixed. Okay, then we'll discuss about the last thing that's called sticky. Sticky. So when I say sticky, normally we use only is the top element, top position. So I'll just make it as left and all will not be effective. Top. Okay, look at this. Okay, now what happened? The top is fixed to 100 pixels. Okay, it is sticking to that. It is sticking to that. Look at this. I'll just make it a 0. So even if you move that, see, other elements are moved, it is sticking to the top. It is sticking to the top. Right? So the difference between sticky and top is sticky, okay, works only with the top parameter. Okay, for example, you see, if I just say bottom and all, see, look at this. Bottom. Okay, fine. Sticky does not work. Okay, but fixed will work with bottom. Okay, fixed will work with bottom. Look at this. I make it as fixed. Fixed. Okay, look at this. See, it is fixing to bottom 0 pixel. But sticky will always be working with top actually. So I'll just make it as top. Okay, make it as sticky. See, so this H3 element will always be sticking to the top position. Look at this. Even if you move the other contents, sticky content will always be fixed to the top content, top position, top position. Right? So in this demonstration, okay, we discussed the following topics. Okay, so the topics were the various positions, So various positions. So we started with static. When you say static, it is a default position of any element. So we don't need to explicitly specify an element is statically positioned. Okay, whether you say static or not, it is statically positioned. Then when you come to relative to its position, original position, how an element has moved somewhere else. That's relative. But when it is moving to another position, but still the position occupied by that element will be left as it is. That means what? Any element which comes below that has to be placed only just below that. Okay, any element which is starting after that has to be placed just below that. So the position occupied by that relative element will be as it is. It will not be given up. That means that element will not give up its position, even though it has moved. It's like I can give an analogy. I got a chair in my theater, right? I go to a new chair, I go to a new position, but still my chair, should not be occupied somebody else. This is the example. This is the example for relative. Okay, so I was in A row. Now, due to some reason, I go to C row. Okay, so I have gone to C row, but still my A row, will not be occupied by somebody else. My seat in A row will not be occupied by somebody else. So this is the analogy I can give. So this is relative. But when it is absolute, from A, I was sitting in A row in a particular seat. I go to C row. Fine. Now what happens? Some other person can occupy who comes next to me. No, he can come to A row because A row was empty. A row seat was empty. So he can go and sit there because I am sitting in C row. Okay, this is absolute. This is a real life analogy I can say with absolute. Fixed means you can take one element, you can fix anywhere in your page, down, top, bottom, right, left, anywhere. So it will stick to that position. It will be fixed to that position. Okay, even if your contents are scrolled up and down, that particular element will be fixed to that position. What is sticky? When you say sticky, the element will be sticking to one top position. Okay, sticky always works only one parameter called top. Okay, other parameters not applicable, other properties. So either can stick to top or bottom, doesn't matter, but it only works with top property. Okay, so this is what we discussed. Okay, in this example about the various positions of CSS. So we'll be seeing more example in the coming up video. Thank you.